Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, we had a bit of a delay there with the power, so we just only began with bringing information, passing our agenda, passing our previous minutes. So we're caught up with our agenda. So now we are into updating the manager of community development and social planning. Will now give a presentation regarding the findings they had of the community and social needs assessment. So just so the listening public, you didn't really miss anything other than a few announcements and approval of a couple agendas and the minutes. So let's carry on, and thank you to David and all his efforts, Denise, for getting this back up and running so quickly. So April, I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Today we're presenting on the Community Social Needs Assessment, which is the culmination of around about 6 months of work for the team. And so here with me today is Avery Aitchison, who is a consultant with BASA Social Innovations. And behind me in the gallery is Scott Cameron, President and CEO of BASA. And online we also have Adam Goodwin, also a consultant who's been working and supporting this project. So just a bit of a recap of why we're here and what we're doing. Okay, so tonight we're going to just briefly review the needs assessment. We're going to look at what emerged the last time we did this back in 2017, what the purpose was of this year's assessment, what process we went through this time, the priorities that emerged, and then a really high-level look at the action plan that will guide our work until 2027. And considering next steps from a municipal perspective. So just a bit of a recap. When I was here in October, we talked about what a needs assessment is. And so just to recap, a needs assessment is conducted typically every 5 years, and we align our dates with the release of StatsCan data, as that's useful in supporting our work. The purpose is to research and raise awareness of key social needs within the community. So that would inform our 5-year work plan as a department. It ensures that FCSS funds and resources are targeted where they need to be and where they ought to be. But it also supports the municipality and wider agencies and organizations in their planning and their resource allocation and in their grant writing. And so in the past 5 years, we've had numerous agencies contact us seeking data to support their grant writing for their work, and we've been able to provide that as a result of the needs assessment. Oh, I skipped too far. Bear with me. Okay. So in 2017, in no particular order, the key needs that were identified were housing and transportation, out-of-school affordable accessible youth programming, affordable and accessible counselling, and poverty and affordability in general. And you'll see on the right-hand side of this slide some really great quotes that were included in the feedback on the survey that we conducted around some of the work that's been done and that can be celebrated since 2017. So we've introduced a youth program coordinator and some really great feedback about that. We introduced a subsidized counselling program. We improved and extended and made more accessible our recreation fee assistance program and a number of other subsidies, in addition to establishing the Poverty Reduction Alliance and various other pieces of work to address these issues. And of course, we have a housing strategy now as well. So back in October, I'd also mentioned the process that we were going to go through in order to develop the 2023 needs assessment. And so that included, from a community engagement perspective, a public survey and a number of workshops, an agency survey. And in addition to that, in round 2, we took the data, or should I say BASA took the data that we had gathered and developed a what we heard kind of report. And so we gathered more feedback through Family Day Unplugged and an agency workshop in round 2. And then a new piece that we added in, again, just to make sure that absolutely what we were hearing is definitely resonating with the community and with council, was that closing the loop piece that we did. And so we had 70 participants in our closing the loop session, where we presented everything we'd heard and our proposed actions and asked people, does this make sense? And 70 people participated in that. So that's what we've done. And I'm now going to hand over to Avery to talk about what we learned.
Excellent. Thank you so much. My name is Avery. I'm one of the associate consultants with Vasa Social Innovations. We're the consultancy firm that was hired and tasked with doing the analysis of the survey and engagement data and developing some strategies and recommendations to go along with that. When we looked at the data and started sifting and sorting it through a thematic analysis and a qualitative analysis, what emerged was 5 major community priorities. These priorities are in no particular order because they are all primary priorities. Not one is more important than the other. The 5 that came out from the community were belonging and social participation, affordability, health and well being, housing, and transportation. We're going to take a quick little look into each one of these as well, along with the corresponding data. The first one we're going to discuss is belonging and social participation. When we think about belonging and social participation, we see belonging and social participation as a primary route for for healthy communities. When you think about how a community functions, we need to have a sense of belonging and we need to have a sense of connection. When we looked at the survey key figures, a couple things that jumped out. 24% of residents who participated in the survey felt they don't belong. That's a 10% increase from 2017. 53% indicated they feel isolation is a factor for them. It's another 8% increase from 2017. When we categorize those two pieces, we do want to importantly categorize them through the lens of what's changed in our world over the last few years, right? From 2017 till today, we had a global pandemic. And globally, that hit hard on how people feel they belong and the feelings of social isolation. So they remain a strong priority. 38% of people who responded report they experienced a lack of respect, dignity, or consideration. 23% did not believe that community members are ready to take ownership of community initiatives. And 26%, or around 1 in 4, were parents who did not know other parents they can help or they can ask for help and support. This really indicated to us a strong priority area in belonging and social participation. And that was confirmed by the public during the closing loop. 87% of people agreed that this was a priority area, and 85% agreed with the corresponding action areas. What's wonderful is there's also a strong foundation for leveraging success in this area. 93% of residents said they have people they can rely on for help, and 87% say they're connected to a group of people who share their beliefs or values. So there's an opportunity to leverage those pieces. When it came to suggested action areas, the 4 that emerged were activate and engaging Drumheller's youth, increasing community capacity to support seniors to age in place, addressing social isolation to further develop well being, and to build community capacity to respond to and address discrimination. Detailed action steps are included in the preview draft report that you have as well. When we looked at the broad lens of affordability, the things that jumped out in the survey process, 30% of people said they're prevented from accessing programs, services, or activities due to cost. Almost 1 in 3. 34% say that housing insecurity is a challenge they're facing. 31% reported feeling they're underemployed. And 19% report that they are currently not employed. This is not the unemployment rate. If you were to look at the unemployment standards or the unemployment rates across Alberta or within the community, this is not reflective of the calculated unemployment rate. This was the amount of people who indicated they're currently not working. When we look at the theme of affordability, it was broken into 2 primary areas: access to basic needs and feedback on utilities and taxation. We're at a point of very high inflation, which is causing a lot of strain and stress on households when it comes to affordability. When we asked the public around, is this a priority area for you? 90% of people agreed with the priority area, 77% agreed with the action areas. When we look at those action areas identified, the first is to explore expanding access to and the impact of affordability programs such as the Drum Life Pass. We also recommended to review municipal policies and programs with a lens of affordability to reduce any unnecessary costs, continue leading collaborative efforts to address poverty, and seek socially innovative ways to increase affordability, such as coordinating seed banks, toy libraries, or snow angel programs, as some examples of how to do that. When we look at the priority area of health and well-being really came out to residents, especially when it came to access to family doctors, emergency services, and specialty services within the valley. Seniors living with health issues stated they have to travel long distances to major centers to access specialty services. When we looked at the survey key figures, 32% of people indicated they live with some form of disability, which is higher than the Canadian average of 22%. 44% said that mental illness is a factor for their household. 39% of those who live with a disability said they're living with a chronic disease. And 17% said that a lack of supports for people with disabilities keeps them from participating in programs, services, and activities. When we took the reported data from the social needs assessment and looked at available health data from Alberta Health Services, we find that confirms some of the experiences of residents. You can see that semi and non-urgent emergency visits are 1.5 times higher than the provincial average in the Starland County Health region, which includes Drumheller. And 48% of outpatient care and 47% of inpatient care for people who live in Starland County or Drumheller occurs outside of that local health area. So nearly half of people's health needs are being met outside of this region. The suggested action areas that we identified here were to continue to engage with the Rural Mental Health Network and seek ways to further involve the community in mental health and wellness, strengthen strategic health partnerships and relationships across all levels of government, continue and expand subsidized and low-cost access to community counseling resources, and April's got an update on that.
Sure. So just the latest intake on the community counselling program is such that we have enough applicants to near fully allocate the 2023 community counselling budget right now. So at the moment we're on a pause, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from people. So please still apply. It just means that we're just looking at the budget and making sure we don't overspend at the moment.
And lastly, in the action areas, we suggested to fund or subsidize access to mental health training, such as mental health first aid and applied suicide intervention skills training for residents as well as for service providers. We asked in the closing loop, 84% of people agreed that this is a priority area, and 78% agreed with the action areas identified. The next area was housing. It's also really important to note that a housing needs assessment was also just completed along with a housing strategic plan in 2022. So we were able to utilize some of those figures as well to better understand this priority area that emerged from the community. Within the survey itself, 34% of the respondents said that housing is a factor for their household. We also heard quite a bit in the community engagement sessions and as well as from organizations that housing is a really difficult challenge for a lot of people. When we look at the results from the housing needs assessment, we see a couple pieces there. 18.5% is the number of total households spending more than 30% of their income on housing. And identified in the housing needs assessment was that about 1 in 4 of the 1 in 4 households do not have acceptable housing based on the standards. Housing is an important priority. 80% of people agreed that this is a priority area. 76% agreed with the action areas. When we looked at the action areas, we indicated that to implement the Drumheller housing strategy, there's a lot of great recommendations in there, and we wanted to align as much as possible with that, as it's great work that's already been completed. We suggest explore innovating methods for addressing emergency housing needs to align with current resources. Ensure that land use bylaws and building policies support meeting the aging in place needs of seniors. And review all municipal policies and processes to find opportunities to expedite the approval of appropriate housing development and renovation. The fifth priority area was transportation. The big number that came out of the survey was that 1 in 5 people said they're unable to participate in programs, services, or activities that interest them because there's no way to get there. When we asked people in the survey, 80% agreed with the priority area and 82% agreed with the action areas. This was an area of significant interest, especially within the senior population, but also within all demographics around how we get around Drumheller Valley. How do we get access to external services? How do we get access to health services outside of the zone as well? The action areas that we suggested to explore undertaking a transportation needs assessment or master planning process or similar. Convene and facilitate a collaborative transportation task force or similar to further develop some solutions. Review policies or bylaws to increase options for inter and intra-valley affordable transportation by taxi, Uber, or other services that could be subsidized as necessary. And explore ways to increase the mobility of residents, including walkability, bikeability, use of e-scooters, or other innovative options. And those were suggestions that came from residents, was to explore some of those potential alternatives to increase the walkability and transportation. Hold on. Did I stall out here? Yep, I'm clicking. There we go. We're back. Okay. Um, Although these weren't social priorities that emerged, we wanted to give some honorable mentions to a couple of other key areas that came out about the survey and the public engagements. The first one was access to childcare. It was reported to be a barrier to accessing services for about 22% of the survey respondents. And it was explored at depth in the Family Day and other community engagements. It came up a lot in conversations with residents, as well as it came up a lot from the organizational survey and the organizational work that was completed. When we look at some suggested action areas there, we suggested convening or facilitating a community collaborative coalition with the purpose of exploring innovative solutions to increase access to high quality and affordable childcare. And secondly, to reinvigorate support for the Drumheller and Area Early Childhood Development Coalition as well. Community awareness came out in the survey quite often as well. When we asked about what were the barriers to accessing services, when that was asked in the survey, the number one response was we didn't know what was happening. That was the number one response from people. And so, although it's not a social need in and of itself, it's one of those areas of potential leverage for how we can increase the participation, belonging, and increase the social well being of residents in Drumheller Valley. So, with that, we suggested reviewing municipal communications plans to leverage citizen networks and information sharing, as well as expand the use of new resident welcome packs by leveraging relationships with realtors, business owners, and other service providers. In addition to the action plans that are in the preview draft that you can see, we've also identified three primary, what we consider to be kind of systems level strategies that are consistent with best practices in social well being. The first one being around the idea of intentional collaboration, which is planning for and leveraging the right level of collaboration and potentially leading towards collective impact when the time is right or in the right settings. The second big kind of rock strategy identified is clear roles and responsibilities. And we've included a matrix in the report as well to leverage clear roles and responsibilities for both the municipality and stakeholders to ensure that everyone has an idea of exactly what's expected and exactly at what level they're supposed to achieve. And lastly, increasing communication and social participation. So, building greater social participation and engagement through targeted communication and engagement strategies that are built off of an accept or built off of a framework, something like IAP2 or something similar. And those were the big, broad findings from the community social needs assessment. Within your booklet, you have the preview report as well as a detailed what we heard report, which is the entire kind of survey analysis that's available for you as well. And back over to you.
So in terms of next steps, next week I'll be coming to council to seek with a request for direction for administration to update our 5-year work plan based on the results that we've just presented. We'll also go to our community tables and partnership groups and make sure we update them as well. This information will be shared through our communications channels and through Citizen Lab so that the public and those that participated get to see what the results were and what's happening next. And then there'll also be an annual check-in on progress to see how we're moving forward on the areas that have been identified. So those 5 key areas plus the 2 honorable mentions. And that's everything we have to share this evening. I'm happily take any questions.
All right, who wants to start? Stephanie?
Is it across the province and the country seeing a lot of these same needs?
Yes, it's experienced in different contexts depending on which municipality you live in, right? Some might have different resources or different programs available, but broadly, when we look at affordability, it's a challenge across the country right now, especially with, you said, increased interest rates, people renewing mortgages, right? That's creating some housing crunch and making things less affordable for people as well. So it is a challenge, but it looks different in every municipality. I think what was really quite unique with what came out of affordability within the community social needs assessment was the added dimension of being a tourist destination with one primary season. A lot of kind of tourist destinations in Western Canada or in Alberta have kind of two seasons. They have a summer rush and a winter rush. The primary rush here is summer. So that creates a unique lens, which is something that I think within the poverty profile is going to be a really important piece to look into.
Crystal?
Okay, just a few comments and questions. Your first slide, I want to point out that it says 73% of residents feel that they're important in their community. So that's almost 3/4 of our residents feel like they're a good asset to their community. So I want to make note that's a really good positive thing. And I would suspect that has changed over the last few years, probably since 2017. So good job for all our residents who feel like they are part of their community and they're doing good things. Um, I know we touched a bit about on mental health and that it's probably increased. That's probably also from COVID. I would say there's definitely more awareness around what mental health is and where you can access services. People are talking about it more. They're just being more aware of it, right? So yes, that's high, but it's good that we're aware of it more than we were probably even a couple of years ago. Access to childcare. So we have 2 childcare centers, after school programs, day homes, private homes, and grandparents' family. Do you know if there's a waiting list on those childcare, especially those private ones?
I'm not sure about a wait list. Certainly, that's a call I'm going to be making quite soon anyway with the poverty profile. What I do know is every once in a while, someone will be looking at moving to the community and they'll post on one of the various groups online and ask really pertinent questions like, what's important to know as a family? And one of the childcare providers in town said, I have to turn people away every week. Okay, and I don't want to, but we're full. So we know that there's a problem and that there's actually a market there. If anyone wants to establish a childcare in Drumheller, there's definitely business, but there's a gap right now. There is a definite need for more childcare. I think there's probably also a need for childcare provided outside of typical hours. For those that are working shifts. So definitely some work to be done there and to look into it, for sure.
Oh, that's good information. One more comment about communication and trying to get this word out. And I made this comment during our council session that when the line of connection with a phone line was disconnected with everything, it feels like people are less connected, even though we're so connected through social media and cell phones and it's all attached. But it feels like people are just not finding the information. So it's just that I always think about that is like, sometimes we just need to pick up the phone and call our friend or let's meet for lunch or a coffee. So I feel like there's sometimes that we've disconnected from that. And I recently just joined Nextdoor and it's from my area where I live. It's Midland. So it's all my neighbors. We're all talking and telling each other things about what's happening in just our small community. So I know there's one in Newcastle, East Cooley, I think there is one. And this isn't a drum discussion thing. This is just Nextdoor, it's called. So maybe look into that. So thanks.
Lisa?
Thank you, first off, for the presentation. Most of my questions got answered except for the one. I was just looking for a bit more clarification on what you feel or the feedback was about the clear roles and responsibility of the municipality when it comes to communication.
Just to make sure I'm understanding the question correctly, so around the roles and responsibilities in municipalities specific to communications.
That is what your slide indicated, yes. So
I'm
wondering what.
Okay. So I'll clarify that. So it's two separate kind of best practice strategic areas. One is around clear roles and responsibilities. The next one is around communication and participation. So the idea with clear roles and responsibilities is looking at, what is a primary, shared, or complementary level of responsibility from a municipal lens. So what drives are we as a municipality? What drives if we're in the driver's seat? What drives if we're in the passenger seat, or what drives if we're kind of sitting beside the vehicle in another vehicle next to it? What are the questions that we ask ourselves? How do we identify what our responsibility? And then the roles piece is there's a wide range of roles that are available for municipality to play when it comes to social well-being. So in the package, you'll see a couple: convening, educating, capacity building, advocating. Depending on the social need that arises, there's there's sometimes a better fit than others. And that what this gives is it gives a framework for how do we look at an arising social need and identify the best possible fit from a role level and a responsibility level. So as a municipality, you're not taking everything on, but you're able to contribute to who needs to be in the driver's seat.
Tom?
Thank you for the report. I know a lot of people worked very hard on this, and I know April was at pancake breakfast trying to solicit input and did everything we possibly could to get as many people on the survey. Lots and lots of good information. I guess one thing that I would say off the top, that it indicates, unfortunately, that there are some areas that we are now doing worse than we did in 2017, which is a bit unfortunate. But that's the way it is, I guess. And I look at this report and I guess I ask myself, how is this going to change or help the community? And I always go back to the simple process of stop, start, continue. So what did we learn from this report that doesn't seem to be working, that we should stop doing if we are doing something and we're not, maybe not doing it properly? Um, Maybe you have an example of that. And also, what did we learn from this report that we need to start? That is obviously a need in the community and a need in our social services. And then what are some of the things that, and I think these are more obvious, that we should continue doing, because they seem to be working fairly well. So I guess that's what I'm looking at, to kind of boil it down, simplify it a little bit, and just say, hey, we got to do this, and we got to stop this, and we got to, as I've said many times before, I mean, you can, doesn't matter how many times you weigh a pig, it doesn't get any fatter. Basically, you measure, but you're not really changing anything. So that's what I'm looking for is, we're going to do this and it's going to make this difference. And
Anybody else? Okay, oh, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I guess just to circle back into the number of respondents and the demographics, if you have that available, we could share with the public. April mentioned 70 came back and closed the loop, but how many completed the survey? And in your findings, is that good, not good, or average? And then if you could touch on the demographics maybe as well.
Okay, so numbers wise, we had 140 participate in the community survey. There were 34 involved in workshops during phase one. There were 60 involved on Family Day during phase two, and 13 involved in an agency workshop in phase two. And then the closing the loop was 70, give us a total number of people involved or engaged of 335. And I'll let Avery speak to how that compares with kind of normal.
So that number represents around 4% of the population, which is relatively consistent with other community social needs assessments that have been done within Alberta. Black Falls, for example, if I'm gonna have to remember my numbers, which is difficult. I didn't write them down. But in their community social needs assessment from 2016, I believe they hit about that 3.5 to 4% mark as well. As well as when you look at kind of the sample sizes in some of the larger municipalities, it's not the world, it's not the best example, but City of Edmonton uses around 0.5%. As an accurate target for some of their initiatives. So when we looked at the collection of data, because numbers of survey participants isn't always the best indicator of what the community is saying, we look at all the data that was combined and how does it corroborate each other with the other available kind of data that we have, whether it's census data. Said we were looking at health data, we looked at income data. How does this make sense in the big picture? And as a consultancy, we have confidence that this here, from the statement here, we have confidence the CSNA is informed by a balanced selection of community residents. We're pretty confident in that. When we looked at the demographics, I can give you the overview demographics. The age demographics are relatively follow the age demographics of the community. There's a couple little differences there, but not in, we're not looking at 30% variance. It's a little small. It's definitely smaller than that. Gender breakdown, 54% who participated were female, 25% were, or around 20% were male, and then there's about 25% who left the question blank. And that's the way it is. Level of education, from what we could tell, demographics roughly fit the profile, as well as the income fit the profile. Once again, large groups who didn't answer, which is, it's okay. It's their prerogative, and that's fair. So the survey demographics said roughly matched the community demographics as well, which led to our assessment.
Anybody else? Okay, yeah, I have a real problem with that number because we're trying to run a whole municipality on that small of, like, really you're talking 335 people of 8,000. That's tough for me to base all of this on. So that's my first comment. A second, there was a comment in there that we don't have many supports, but like we have 33 community supports, 37 professional supports, 20 24-hour emergency supports. So I feel like this is degrading us, yet I feel we're pretty strong compared to other municipalities. So I'm not sure if you saw our circle supports, but maybe you want to check it out. My other thing is you've got 19% of people say they're unemployed, yet personally, my phone doesn't quit ringing. How do we get more employees? How do we get more people working? So I think this negatively reflects on us, but the work is out there. People are looking for employees. So I don't know where you guys got that number, but maybe they're not wanting to work. I don't know, but I can give them a list of places that are looking for employment. And then you've got 31% are underemployed. What does that mean? Are you saying that their jobs, they don't feel that their pay is making it meet, or what do you mean by underemployed?
So that was one of the survey questions that was asked, was their perception if they're underemployed. And so I'll pass it over to April for the.
Yeah, it may be a case of they're employed full-time, maybe during the summer. It could be that they're employed only part-time during the off season because there isn't the availability. So they're not fully employed year round, typically is the understanding of the meaning of underemployed. For the unemployed question, of course, that's a question we asked survey participants, and it could be that they were older adults and they're retired, so they wouldn't be employed, right? So that's not the stats can or the latest data on unemployment data. It's that they said they weren't in work, and that could entirely be because they're retired, or it could be because they're a child, or it could be because they are not working because maybe they're on AISH, or maybe they are unemployed. But we don't have the detail of that. They expressed that they were not employed. There could be many reasons why.
Okay, I guess that's my point. Again, it's another case of it makes it look like we're not, if it's not really coming up to anything credible, I think this question that probably doesn't, I should maybe just say employed, unemployed, or retired, and then at least we'd know, is that 31% actually, of that 31%, who is what? I get numbers that, I'm not saying we're perfect by any means, but numbers that make us look bad when we're not, when we do actually have stuff that can help. But anyways, that's on that one. And then the daycare one, we did have a new daycare open here. I was on the provincial $10 a day daycare, so there is affordable daycare. I add to Crystal's comment that it would be nice for us to know if that, because I know they had openings, they were looking, so if that filled up in the short time that they were open, and for them, that's a good problem, and I guess that's for us to figure out if they're, is that seriously more that's required? If it is, I think that's where Reg gets involved and promotes that that's another business that could open. So that would be a good one. What's that? Okay, and then my final comment is housing. Yes, we know that housing is a problem. What I will tell you, gentlemen, because you weren't here, it's 2017, we had over 300 some houses on the market. So housing wasn't a problem. And lots of things have happened in the valley, positive changes, different things going on. And so we didn't predict in 2017 that we were going to have less than 25 houses on the market in 2023. So it's a double-edged sword. You know, you can say, well, you guys aren't on it. Well, 2017, we would have looked foolish if we were on housing. So, you know, so I can tell you it is a priority of council. So we are trying to figure out and quickly how we can get that solved for the people. So we are taking that one very seriously. So yeah, other than that, thank you for the information. Again, like I say, I have a little trouble with the numbers based on the small percentage of people that actually filled it out. But I guess you get what you get and you work with what you got, and we'll see what they come back with priorities or how we move forward. Anything else? All right. Administration? Nope. All good. Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
joining us. Okay, we shall move on to 7.2.1. Please, Alicia. April, quickly, you talked about a package that, could you get that to us? That, okay, that is the full thing. Okay, we just thought there was something else that we're missing. Okay, thanks.
All right. Evening, Mayor, Council, Administration. So Alicia and I are here this evening to give you a bit of an update on community events that are going on in our community. So in the summary there, first thing to note, and this was in the last one as well, but it's the important piece is that our key priorities or our goals continue to be the same. And so those are seasonal activities and events that attract locals or visitors to the community year round. We're enhancing opportunities for economic activity and downtown area revitalization. Number three, liaising with individuals, community groups, organizations, and businesses to improve their capacity to host events in the Drumheller Valley. Supporting and promoting cultural awareness. And fifth, promoting an increased sense of community. So as we continue to work with events, community events, our partners and our partnership meetings are very important, and we've got two key partners, that being Travel Drumheller. And so we continue to attend bi-weekly meetings with that Travel Drumheller team. And those meetings continue to prove very positive, and as it allows us to discuss partnership opportunities and further development as Drumheller as a year-round community for residents. It also, since our last meeting, or our last brief with you, our community events coordinator, Alicia, attended the Boost the Business workshops, where she presented to the group about running special events and received some great feedback at that. They spoke that they didn't realize what the special event permit was for and when they needed to fill it out. So it was an opportunity for us to explain that. The second partner that we meet with is the Community Business Association, so the CBA. And so Alicia attends those meetings on a monthly basis as well. And the goal of attending those meetings is to grow the relationship and to allow us to open the door for communication, as we're hearing that communication is vital to our community, and how we can support them in some of their activities and share ideas, and continue to develop that positive relationship with that group. So Alicia will kind of review some of the events and activities that have taken place over the last couple months and what's coming up.
Great. So just a quick little rundown here. So March 18th, we ran the Shamrocks and Shenanigans event, which was a partnership with the CBA. We had about 21 individuals that came to the plaza to check in with me. We know that through talking with the CBA that people did stop and just play the games along the way, but I can't have any count of that, so I don't actually know how many people stopped. April 12th, we ran the Find a Source event, which was completed with 32 individuals that came to check in with me again at the plaza. Great feedback from this one from the community. They were all very excited that they had something to do with the kids when they weren't in school. So that was nice to hear. April 22nd, we ran the Gateway to Summer event, which was a partnership with Travel Drumheller. We estimated about 175 people that stopped in over the 2 hours, with a total of 12 vendors, and we had a live band that day at the plaza. 175. Coming up, Clue Solvers isn't quite an event. It's more of a thing that you will be able to do year-round once it is launched. We're working with Travel Drumheller and the Clue Solvers company, and we are hoping that it's ready to go for the May long weekend for an official launch of that. So we're super excited for that to come, and people will be able to do that on their own time, right off their phones. So it's super exciting for us. The next big event, or the first big event for us, happening the May long weekend, May 19th to 22nd, is Chainsaw Wizards. So we've got 4 days of chainsaw carving happening in the valley with 5 Canadian carvers coming in. Super excited about this one. We're also partnering with the Royal Tyrrell Museum and having all 5 carvers go out to the museum on the Thursday when they arrive. To be able to answer any questions or anything, as we are having them carve dinosaurs. So we want them to be as accurate as possibly we can be out of wood. So come on down May long weekend. There'll be lots happening. June is also Recreation and Parks Month. So in partnership with the recreation team, we have created a calendar of events and activities to encourage people to go outside and be active outdoors in the many parks and spaces that we have here in Drumheller. June 2nd, we are pairing up with the Titans football organization to have a celebration of their big win in November last year of their provincial championships. So we will be at the Plaza June 2nd with the Titans. Canada Day, July 1st. We are all ready to go for this event. It'll look mostly like last year. Lots happening down at the Big Dinosaur. We have some new things this year. We have some continuing things. Farmers Market, Drumheller Dragons will be running our beer gardens again. Travel Drumheller will be there taking pictures and doing their Travel Drumheller stuff. So lots to go on. July 10th, we are having a teddy bear picnic down at the plaza. So we're going to partner up with the family literacy team and host Drumheller's first teddy bear picnic. And July 10th just happens to be International Teddy Bear Picnic Day. So into August. So August 15th, we are hosting the first Ducky Dash. So we're going to have a bunch of ducks downtown with letters on the bottoms of them. At the end, you'll have to unscramble the word, which will be the prize. So we're going to, again, hopefully partner with the CBA on that one to get them involved. August 26th, we're going to have the RC car group. This one isn't completely finalized, so I don't have a cool name for it. I'm sorry. But we're going to have the local RC group downtown at the plaza before Summer at the Plaza starts, so we don't want to interrupt all the noises together. So they're going to come down, do their car things. If anybody has RC cars and wants to get involved, you're more than welcome to come as well. We're also partnering with the Egg Society that day, as they have an RC track up at the egg site. So that will be an open gate for anybody who wants to go up to the track that day. All right, Summer at the Plaza starts July 7th and continues on to September 2nd, which is 9 weeks of live entertainment at the Plaza, Friday and Saturday evenings. Our schedule is full. We've got 18 days of Plaza. We've got 23 performers coming. So we've got locals, we've got people from Edmonton area, we've got people from Calgary area, kind of all over coming to sing or perform at the Plaza this year. We also, in that, have grown the event. We've got organizations and businesses coming to partner with us as well. So there will be food trucks down there some nights. Travel Drumheller's coming one night to promote what Travel Drumheller does. We've got some other organizations as well coming to get the word out, spread it, get community there, and happening all at the same time. So, Alberta Day. This one is grant dependent on the elections coming up. We don't know if there's going to be a grant or not again this year. So as of June 1st, I will know that answer. But Alberta Day is happening September 2nd, tied into our last day of Summer at the Plaza, which we will celebrate Alberta's birthday. And then Culture Day, we are in partnership with the Drumheller Library to make Culture Days a little bit bigger this year than it was last year. I have not had time to meet with Emily because she's very busy with Book Bash. And I'm very busy with Chainsaw Wizards right now, so we don't have an official date for Culture Day yet, but it will happen in September.
All right, so also happening around our community is special events. So special events by others. And to date, we've had 27 applications come in for special events to take place. And those are new and returning events. We continue to work with some of our larger events that are going on to ensure that they've got our support. And so some of those are the Boogie and the Badlands Car Show, the Lost Egg Disc Golf Tournament, as well as some cultural events. We've also got a triathlon coming in May, and then the Grand Fondo as well will be coming up. So as we've identified, communications is key, and we continue to work and look for new ways of being able to communicate all of these events that are going on. And so we work with the communications teams to improve the promotion, and there's a list of what we're currently doing with all of that right now. So the website, social media, monitors, online, the Drum online calendar, as well as 2 Minutes on the Town and the Drum page, or the town page on Drum Mail. Larger events, we look always to do printed material, so it could be posters, brochures, and we look to circulate them to the hotels, businesses, and campgrounds, as well as the VIC, visitor information. And we look to utilize our own town utility bill to be able to get word out to our locals. And then, as I've mentioned before, Travel Drumheller is a key partner in many of our events that are going on. So we work with the Travel Drumheller team to collaborate on promotions and then to cross post and share events and happenings that we can. So in your package, there's some tables in there that are color coded in that. If you look at the first one, the community event coordinator one, the ones that are kind of the salmony pinkish color, I guess you would say, are event coordinator organized, so by Alicia. The green looking ones are organized by Alicia, but also in partnership with some other organizations. So you can see a number of events that are there that are coming up through the spring here into summer and then into the fall as well. And then during this time, of course, we're starting to look to what can be in the months of November and December. Alongside of that is the goals. So I spoke right off the hop of the 5 goals or 5 priorities. So that's listed as how we feel that we're meeting those goals, as well as the locations that they're taking place and what current status they are. The next table is the special events by others table. And so again, there's colors there. So if they are white, that means that a special event permit is required or was required for it. And if it's in blue, no special event permit was required, and that's typically due to where they're hosting it. So it might be part of a business or on private property. But as you can see, there are many special events that are taking place over the upcoming months. So with that, be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
All right, thanks. Let's go, Steph.
So for the listening public and stuff, just for more information, the teddy bear picnic on July 10th, is the picnic provided or do they need to pack their own picnic?
We haven't quite figured that out. I'm waiting for the family literacy team to get back to me. It definitely will be bring your own teddy bear.
Okay, for the June, the Recreation and Parks Month, what kind of activities will there be and where can we find the calendar to check in on that?
So the calendar will be coming out through communications. It's in their hands right now. Activities can be as simple as, go outside and do some sidewalk chalk. There's a drop-in at the outdoor pool on there. Our drop-in yoga class on June 7th will happen at the plaza. Our drop-in spin is happening on the terrace that day. I think it's June 12th. So we're kind of pairing up with people to see how much we can do outside and how we can bring our activities that we already have happening outside.
Okay, and one more question, just where a person looks for a schedule of the performers that are coming downtown.
So they can look on the Town of Drumheller website. There is a full lineup there already, and we are working with communications to finalize our poster and our brochure, which will go out to everywhere that wants it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Crystal?
Just quick comment. Again, I've said this before. If you think that you're bored, just there's something going on somewhere every day of the week, every weekend, especially during the spring and fall. So just reminding people that they just need to find that information, and hopefully we'll make it easy. I appreciate the collaboration with the other partners. I think that's what's going to make it successful with Travel Drumheller and the business association. That's huge to have a good working relationship. And if there's anyone else that wants to collaborate, then please reach out to Alicia. So thanks.
Tom?
Very good. Lots of things going on, which is wonderful. A couple of comments. First of all, again, we get into the predicament of too many things going on. I know this last weekend, wow, Springfest, Demolition Derby, Banff Film Festival. So I had people say, I couldn't go to the Springfest last night because I was at the film festival. Or I didn't go to the film festival because I was at the demo derby yesterday. I don't know what you can do about that, and I guess it's a wonderful problem to have. We've got too many things going on. Just a couple of comments as well. I think we have to communicate with all sorts of groups in the community to make sure that they let you know what they're doing. So I just look on the list and I think about the pancake breakfast. I always bring that up, don't I? It's like, I like pancakes. What can I say? It's kind of like pickleball and golf. No, anyways, so Nakmine Community Association has pancake breakfast, and St. Anthony's Hall has pancake breakfast, and East Cooley has and there are hundreds and hundreds of people are going to these. And I don't think they feel that the need to communicate with you to, put it on the calendar, but it would be a good thing. I just noticed in the calendar, like the Drumheller Health Foundation, we had the big gala at the BCF. A couple hundred people there, and so that's we didn't think about letting you know to put it in your calendar, so it isn't in there. Newcastle Block Party, we have that coming up in July, and nobody bothered telling you, I'm sure. July 15th actually, but we did book the barbecue and just the last thing on the parade committee, and the parade this year is going to be theme. I don't know if anybody told you, but it'll be the 20th anniversary of the Dragons. So we'll be celebrating the Drumheller Dragons 20th anniversary in town for the theme for the parade this year.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else? Okay, I just want to acknowledge Francisco for the Chainsaw Wizards logo. You guys got to see it. It's incredible. So thank you for all the work you did on that. It's been a great committee that of volunteers, and yes, May long weekend. We really need you to come out and bid on the auction items that we're going to have the carvers doing. So the calendar of events. I just got to keep encouraging everybody to put on that Drumheller online. Like they got to get everything on Drumheller online. So I think if I'll make sure all of our stuff is on Drumheller online as well, because that's kind of seems to what we keep driving people to. Those calendars that you're going to make of things is great, but things change quickly and then you're continually printing. So I don't disagree. I think the calendars are good, but I think we got to continue to still push that Drumheller online. The the market, farmers market, I understand are going to stay over by the brick. And I think it's just, there's other markets too that are always looking for a place. So I think if anybody's listening that they're looking, with all the events going on at the plaza in the summer, maybe they want to have a market. I know Marianne used to always have her market too. So maybe there's people out there that want to also get involved that way. So if they do, they should contact Alicia or Darren. That'd be great. And patio furniture, is it up on the terrace? Is it getting there? It's there. I get to go sit on it. Okay, good. And the special events policy application. Can you make sure when you do that that you have somebody who's done them before test it? Just make sure that all the kinks are out. It's better to get people that use it to test it versus us who don't always use it, because then, again, we're just trying to cut red tape, make things simple for you guys, make simple for the people. So if you could just grab a couple people and test that out. But you are completely on the direction that I think we're hoping for. We're going in that direction. This is the kind of stuff we wanted to see. So thank you both for getting on board, and this is going to be a great summer for the Valley. And by the looks of the calendar, there's things coming up all year. So that's exactly what we're hoping for. So thank you for listening to us and taking our input. And I'm excited. So thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay, so thank you both. Okay, let's move on to 7.3.1, please, Greg.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mayor and Council, this week is a National Emergency Preparedness Week. It's also adopted provincially with a similar theme. This year, the feds are calling it Be Prepared and Know Your Risks. Alberta is basically saying the same thing, but building preparedness habits is the provincial theme. It's invaluable for someone to be prepared in the event of people facing the terrible things that we're facing up north with the wildfires. The count varies, but there's at least 108 on the go. Over 30 are out of control. and people, and again, depending on the media you listen to or read, the area of 26 to 30,000 people have been displaced. Um, and that's indeed a terrible thing. Especially if it's hard enough even if somebody is prepared and can take their children and perhaps their parents, their animals, and they are prepared to retreat from their community and take up residence somewhere else on a temporary basis. But it's even worse much worse if someone takes no preparation at all and people are scrambling. And I've lived in communities that have actually faced, I have disasters where they had to evacuate communities, people that often didn't have much to begin with. And it's indeed a challenge. We encourage everyone to take any steps they can. I'm happy to talk about it any time of the day, every day of the year. Who wish to contact my office. This year's emergency week is May 7th to the 13th. My department is undertaking with Brett and Francisco and comms, putting out a number of publications and stuff on media, various media channels. We encourage everyone to check what is being put out, as well as the existing apps that people can join, such as the 511 Alberta, the Wildfire app, the Weather Can, Alberta Rivers, the Alberta Emergency Alert application is very interesting. It's just been a maelstrom of notifications around the clock about the fires, but very interesting. There's the civil entry as well. There was one this afternoon about armed individuals in a community. Um, One the other day about an individual early in the morning that was out armed, but just good information for our community and advice from the police and first responders. We have been contacted. I'm in regular contact with the police and the fire department, of course. We have been contacted in the event they would ask us to supply resources. The police have so far, they have their own challenges here on a good day lately. So they have met what's been asked of them without taking away. They have supplied, I believe, one reserve member, which doesn't detract, from the on strength of the detachment at this point. The chief and I we're talking today to the wildfire folks and the province, and they were asking what resources we could share. And I certainly would want someone to help me if I needed help, but I really am extremely careful about any kind of things we would offer to share. Chief was talking to the province, and if need be, we could share one truck and four volunteer firefighters. I mean volunteer. They wouldn't make anybody on strength go. We would canvass for anybody that would like to. Well, like is a strange word, but would like to go and support another community. So that's where we're at right now. Right now, we've not sent anyone, but I will update the CAO immediately if any request is made that we feel obligated to comply with, either staff or equipment. Of interest, a member of my staff, Trent Cure, is studying graduate studies in emergency management, and he's undertaking he just came back from he has to go every few months for 2 weeks in class, and he was out on the coast for the 2 week session he just completed last week, and he's studying a wide variety of really interesting things that I wish I had studied when I was younger. I've learned a different way, but Trent's studies, and he'll be finished in a couple of years, very interesting. So he will have a master's degree in emergency management, and a really impressive selection of topics and things that they're studying of real value to me, as a help to me to keep current, and as well as his growth as a first responder for the community. But as I said, he will be on the radio this week. We will be doing one demonstration at Canadian Tire, and perhaps another one on how to pack a kit. I have offered in the past holding sessions, but for some reason there's more instructors than there is people show up to these sessions how to pack your emerge kit, but there's all kinds of advice on the internet, and I'm quite happy to discuss or show anyone any tricks. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to
Thanks,
answer.
Greg. Any questions, council? No, thanks. Oh, you got some, Tom?
So I've been noticing in the news flooding in British Columbia. And one of the places that has had some flooding was Grand Forks. Now, my understanding is Grand Forks was actually part of the same flood mitigation resiliency money program that we were in. And I'm just wondering, do we know why they have flooding there? Have they not finished their dikes or have they had too much? I don't know. I just found it kind of curious that they were one of the communities that were kind of in the same program as we were, but now they're experiencing flooding. So
I'm not sure which is risky, what stage they're at, but I'd be happy to check it out further and contact Grand Forks and things settle down and find out more. Right now, I can't answer why they would.
Counselor, I think that they're also in the same time frame as us, right? So when when the federal government program came out in 2019, like there was nothing before that. So, they're going through buyouts, they're going through acquisitions, they're going through berm construction just like we are. And so, and you're right, there's a whole bunch of that lower mainland that's going through flooding right now. So, but yeah, Grand Forks is a little bit ahead of us because they have a smaller footprint, but they're still building berms and other things.
Anybody else? Okay, Greg, thanks for that update. Appreciate it. And yes, our thoughts and prayers go to all those who are battling all the municipalities and families and businesses. Go ahead, Lisa.
I do have a question for you, Greg. So I hear from everybody that we're headed for a drought in the area, which obvious. But that being said, are we taking measures to make sure that we're prepared in the community for the potential for a severe drought, like for a water storage and you name it?
We haven't discussed it yet. I think that we have a lot of offline storage in Drumheller with our raw water reservoirs. I think if we start to notice that we might do a grass watering ban or outdoor watering ban or something like that. But we're a ways from that yet, Councillor. So.
I just noticed that there's a lot more islands popping up in the Red Deer River that haven't shown for years. So I think if we're prudent, we should be on top of it.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thanks again, Greg. Okay, that's the end of this agenda, and we've got some flood stuff to address. So can I get a motion to go on camera, please? Crystal?
I move that council close the meeting to the public to discuss land development, bylaw and policy development and personnel as per FOIP 16, disclosure harmful to business of a third party, FOIP 23, sub 1, local public body confidences, FOIP 24, sub 1, advice from officials.
Seconder, Stephanie, all in favor? Carried. All right, everyone, thank you for being with us this evening, and we apologize for the early glitch. Mother Nature decided to throw a little at us, but at least I hope the rain keeps coming for the